They will try to act as if there is a perfect competition here. That's why it is very, very important for us to learn. You would be surprised to see that Samsung's entire ideology is all about that. The way of advertisement is changing, but then people are not forgetting the product. The emergence of old and new patterns will keep on coming up in this market, which will make the monopolistic competition even more interesting. Good morning and welcome to the session 5 in Unit 6 Non-Competitive Markets in 2nd PUC Economics, where we are going to talk about the monopolistic competition. This is another form of competition in the non-competitive era where we are going to talk about a variation from the monopoly. So now, when we talk about the monopolistic competition, the first thing that we need to look, it refers to a market situation in which there are many firms which sell closely related but differentiated products. Now let's take an example of the mobile shops that are available in India. Now probably every single street, every single area in whichever city you live has got hundreds and thousands of mobile shops. Each one of them are selling almost closely related products. They sell something related to that same mobile phone, but they have a differentiation in terms of the way they sell, the nature and characteristic of the product, the type or the name or the brand altogether. So that's where closely related but differentiated. Market for such products are the toothpaste, soap, air conditioners. Probably every single FMCG market itself is a monopolistic competition. Moving further, let's try to understand in the monopolistic competition, the market is called because it contains both a competitive as well as a monopoly element. So rather, this is a unique type of market which has a combination of both monopoly as well as the factors of the competitive market also. So both ways, this is going to be an interesting market for all of us to learn. Followed by the features of monopolistic competition is that there are a large number of firms. So as I've told you, when you talk about the FMCG firms here, there are going to be large number of firms acting together. So they will try to act as if there is a perfect competition here. That's why it is very, very important for us to learn. When you look into the monopolistic, it might look that they are perfect, but they are not. Why? Because they will tend to sell something which is relatively not in terms of the very, very differentiated, very, very completely new kind of product. They are relatively closer, but yes, they sell differentiated products altogether. As a result, the firms are in a position to influence the price of the products due to the branching names or the brand names altogether. Now, once you go here, in this type of market situation, a producer can produce different kinds of products, but that product should be close to each substitute of the other factor. That's where it becomes very, very important. The product differentiation means differentiating the product on the basis of brand, color, shape, and size. That's what we have been talking about in the monopolistic altogether. So probably everybody would be selling the same kind of soap, the same kind of toothpaste, or the mobile phone, air conditioner, or television, or any other electronic gadgets as far as possible. But what is going to happen here is that they might try to switch over on the brands, they might try to switch over on the color, they might try to switch over on the shape, the content, the size, quality factors, trying to retain the differentiation as a very, very thin line factor of appreciation. So what happens here is that they try to put things on a very, very close bracket. So for the consumer here, it becomes quite difficult to understand this market, and he feels that as if everybody is trying to act similar. So he finds at one fine morning that this is like a perfect market competition where people are trying to sell the same kind of product but with a different name altogether. Now, due to the product differentiation under each monopolistic in a position exercised to some degree of monopoly, because buyers are willing to pay different prices for the same product produced by different firms. Now, this is quite interesting. Why? Because Every time when you go to a shop, you find that buyers are ready to pay different prices according to the product. Now, the buyers feel that each product has its own price because of the brand, because of the affiliation, the market appreciation, how the brands have to be looked into, and why these brands will have a better name or a better recognition altogether. Sometimes you find that though Samsung is been having the same kind of mobile phones, but then people pay different prices for the Samsung phone at different places. Now, the brand is the same, probably the level of appreciation is different in some other place, the level of appreciation is different in some other areas altogether. So, but the brand continues to dominate in the market in every single segment as far as possible. But people intend to pay a different price because they find at some point of time that there is a differentiation at the way how you look at the product. Now, the next thing is that the producer has a control over the price, no doubt about it. He knows that very well how to maximize the profit price, and he also knows when to reduce it so that a price fall under monopolistic is due to the product differentiation. So when Samsung comes up with a S series phone, a series phone, or a M series phone, or probably, tomorrow if they start coming up with some other series of phone altogether, you would be surprised to see that Samsung's entire ideology is all about that. They want to create yet another differentiation factor altogether. So that's why Samsung always sees that their differentiation factor is always on that line, and they charge different prices for different products, though the mobile phones tend to remain common across many places. Now, the selling cost. It is the expenses which are incurred in terms of promoting the sales or inducing the customers to buy a good of a particular brand. Now, this includes cost of advertisement through newspaper, television, or the promotional activities. Now, this is one thing which comes in as an explicit cost in terms of the monopolistic market. Now, most of the time you might have seen huge ads of coming up in the newspaper about a mobile phone, about a gadgets, about a new market devices that have come across. Why? Because people feel that that's one way to reach the customer at any given point of time. Now, the company also feels that promotional activity is mandatory. Why? Because that is the only way where I can reach out to the people. I can get, recall in the mind of the people, and I need to make people brand conscious, brand aware very, very clearly. And that's where I would become even more reputed altogether. So there is a cost that is involved for this, and this cost is not going to come so easily. So what the companies tend to do here is that they try to compete against each other by creating similar kind of advertisements in terms of a different variation, the length, line, color altogether. Now, if I have to give you an example again here, I would like to take the SUV market in India. Probably everybody is getting so crazy about this market because wherever you see on the newspaper, you will definitely have one advertisement about an SUV, starting with the Hyundai Creta, going on to the Mahindra XUV 700, or you're going to talk about the Hyundai Alcazar, or you're going to talk about the Skoda Kushaq. You have seen multiple SUVs launching up, not to forget the Tata Safari, which is making up its headlines in the IPL also. So what is happening here is that the way of advertisement is changing, but then people are not forgetting the product. Now, in fact, and during the IPL, I also forgot to mention the new brand which is yet again making into the comments, into the mind of people, is the MG Aster, which is coming up in a big way with an artificial intelligence based SUV altogether. But nevertheless, coming back to the topic, what we see here is that the selling cost involves a huge amount of promotion exercise, which is making this entire activity a costlier activity altogether. Now, the free entry and exit of firm, this is always there. Why? Because market is so profound that people can come in, they can quit the market, and they can just go off. One point of time when Ford made an entry into India, everybody was so happy because this big American brand which made inroads to the Indian market started dominating that market with their famous car called as the Ford Icon. Then they started coming up with a bigger brand called as the Ford Endeavour, which was the remarkable SUV which still has a big name and presence in the market. After that, they started coming up with their smaller cars like the Figo, and they started coming up with the enriched brands of Ford altogether. But unfortunately, what happened for Ford is that today they are winding up the shop in India and they're not able to make the presence anymore. Why? Because they find that the costs are going up, the sales is coming down to a great extent. But nevertheless, what we need to understand here in a monopolistic competition is that you have all the rights to enter and exit the market at your will and wish. Nobody is going to stop you on that. But what is going to happen here is that the features are like a perfect competition. So what happens here is it is giving rise to a normal profit wherein you might have to struggle a lot in order to make your name. It is not just enough that you have a strong brand. Because of that, the brand will start selling and you will be able to start making huge profit. Absolutely wrong. It's because everybody in the market is equal to you and they will try to come up with an exact or a similar kind of product, which will make selling quite difficult. So this is going to be a very challenging market where you have to fight it out in order to make your profit. Followed by, no firm will receive any kind of an abnormal profit in the long run, as you've seen that as the old one and the new one will keep interchanging the demand functionality altogether. What is new today becomes old tomorrow and vice versa. So this keeps on changing again and again, by which what you see here is that there is nobody who's going to make a constant profit in the long run. Neither nobody is going to just turn over the tables all of a sudden saying that, yes, I'm going to be the market dominator. Definitely not. What we were looking into Tata Motors 20 years back, that it was just a truck making company. Today, Tata Motors is a leading company in the electric vehicle segment. So definitely, when we start analyzing the market, the emergence of old and new patterns will keep on coming up in this market, which will make the monopolistic competition even more interesting. So nobody is going to take the lion's share away there just like that. Everybody is going to fight it out and they're going to see till the end that what is that remains at stake in the market, so that they are able to continue, they are able to adjust according to the demand of the people and still make their presence felt. Followed by the shape of the demand curve under the monopolistic competition. You would see here that the demand curve faced by the firm is a negative slope. Again, why? Because the firm can sell more only by lowering the price of the product. Quite obvious, you are not going to sell the price at your will and wish. You need to sell it according to the nature of the customer. So you are going to lower the price. So if I have a look at the graph altogether, you see the curve, the elastic curve, which is just sloping downwards here, completely coming down. So the moment you see that for a price that is fixed, you have a fixed quantity, but the moment you start lowering the price, the quantity starts extending there. So which means to say that lowering the price is going to be a game changer here, where you will be able to earn more profits. With this, I come to the end of the monopolistic competition. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this session will be of a great help and resource to you. With this, we come to the end of the chapter 6 in terms of the non-competitive markets. We shall learn more about economics, especially on the macroeconomics, in the coming sessions. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.